There are moments in life when everything changes, not gradually, not gently, but instantly. It's the kind of moment when time fractures, when the clock doesn't just tick, it shatters. And in the silence that follows, you're no longer the same person who walked into it. Pain doesn't knock. It doesn't introduce itself politely. It shows up like a storm in the middle of a sunny afternoon. And it doesn't ask permission before it tears down everything you thought was stable. It breaks through the door of your life and suddenly nothing is familiar anymore. Maybe it was a diagnosis. Maybe it was a breakup that gutted you when you least expected it. Maybe it was a betrayal so deep it carved scars into your soul. Maybe it was the loss of someone you loved, like the rhythm of your heartbeat. Whatever it was, it came and it hurt. And you, standing in the ashes, realized something no one ever told you about pain. That it is not polite, that it doesn't wait until you're ready, that it doesn't care about your schedule, your plans, or your progress. And worst of all, it doesn't just take something from you. It takes you from you. You become a stranger to yourself. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the reflection staring back. You go through the motions of your day, but feel nothing. Your smile feels mechanical, your thoughts foggy. You want to scream, but nothing comes out. It's like your soul is underwater. And the world keeps spinning like it didn't even notice you fell. But here's the truth they don't teach in schools. Pain is not the enemy, it's the messenger. In the scriptures of every wisdom tradition, from the Gita to the Bible to the teachings of the Buddha, pain has always played a role not as the villain, but as the awakener. It's in the fire that we forge our strength. It's in the darkness that we begin to value the light. And it's in the silence that we first begin to hear our true voice. You see, your pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to purify you. It's the same way gold is refined, not by comfort, not by ease, but by fire. And you right now are standing in the flames. But what if this fire isn't here to destroy you? What if it's here to reveal you? We don't grow from what we avoid. We grow from what we're brave enough to face. And even if you feel like you're barely standing right now, even if you're shattered in places, no one can see you are stronger than you know. Let me remind you of this. Do you think Edison created the light bulb without failing thousands of times? Do you think Lincoln led a nation without first enduring devastating losses? Do you think Oprah rose to the top without carrying the scars of deep trauma? Every hero you've ever admired walked through fire. They bled, they cried, they broke, but they didn't stop because something inside them whispered, even through the pain, you're not done yet, and neither are you. You see, pain is a teacher with rough hands, but sacred lessons. It teaches you what truly matters. It strips away the noise so you can finally hear what your heart has been trying to say for years. It shows you who you are when everything else is taken away. And most of all, it reveals the parts of you that are unbreakable. Yes, there's a version of you that this pain cannot touch. A deeper self, a quieter strength, a soul that is vast and luminous and made for more than just surviving. But to find that version of you, you have to go through it, not around it, not above it, but through the fire. You have to feel it fully, not numb it with distractions, not silence it with toxic positivity, not hide it beneath a mask of I'm fine. You have to feel it, cry when it hurts, break when it's too heavy, breathe when that's all you can do. And listen, because in that silence, your soul will begin to speak. And its first whisper will be this: this is not the end. This is the beginning of something deeper, something real, something sacred. Pain may have taken your peace, but it's about to give you purpose. And I promise what rises from these ashes won't just be stronger. It will be wiser. It will be kinder. It will be more alive than ever before. Because on the other side of pain isn't just healing, it's awakening. And your awakening starts now. There are moments in life when the floor disappears beneath your feet, not because you made a mistake, but because life decides it's time to strip you down to your essence. That's what the fire did to me. Not a literal fire, not the kind that leaves smoke in the sky or ash on the ground, but a fire made of grief, of betrayal, of shattered dreams. A fire that burned everything I thought I was and left behind only questions. Who am I now? What is left of me when everything I thought defined me is gone? We all walk through these infernos. The end of a relationship we thought would last forever. The loss of someone who was the center of our universe. The career that collapses without warning. The diagnosis that turns our body into a battleground. These moments, they scorch our soul. And in that searing heat, something extraordinary happens. We get a chance to meet the version of ourselves that has nothing left to prove. The one not decorated in titles, achievements, or the illusions we wear to impress the world. The real self. I remember the day the fire came for me. It didn't arrive with drama or noise. It was a quiet undoing. One message, one moment, one truth I didn't want to hear. And suddenly, the life I had carefully built began to crumble like a house of dry leaves. People disappeared. Support vanished. The applause stopped. And I was alone. At first, I panicked. I begged life to rewind. I screamed at the sky asking, why me? But the sky remained silent. Because life knows something we forget. The fire isn't there to destroy you. It's there to reveal you. You see, pain is not punishment. It's preparation. It's sacred instruction. Think of the blacksmith. He takes raw metal full of impurities, brittle, crude, and he places it in the flame, not to ruin it, but to refine it, to make it bendable, shapeable, strong. We are no different. I had to be placed in the furnace of life, had to lose what I clung to, had to be brought to my knees. Because it was the only way I would remember what truly matters. Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Grief can be a holy place. It is the place where the ego dies and the soul starts to speak. And the soul doesn't speak in likes, followers, or bank balances. It whispers ancient truths. You are not your status. You are not your suffering. You are not what they did to you. You are not what you failed to become. You are love. You are breath. You are divine. You are the student and the teacher. You are the fire and the flame. When we lose what we thought we could not live without, we learn we are stronger than we imagined. That was me, waking up each morning to silence, drinking coffee with hands that trembled, looking in the mirror at eyes that had cried out everything but still held a spark, a tiny ember of hope. And that ember, it mattered more than anything. Because from one ember, you can build a new fire. Not the fire of destruction, but the fire of rebirth. But first, you have to decide, will you stay in the ashes or will you rise? Let me ask you this. What is your fire? What burned you down so badly that you thought you'd never get back up? Was it the loss of someone you loved more than life itself? Was it a betrayal that sliced through your trust like a blade? Was it the moment you realized the world doesn't play fair? Whatever it was, I see you. You are not alone in your pain. But more importantly, your pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. Look at the stories we admire. Nelson Mandela imprisoned for 27 years, and yet his fire did not consume him. It forged his compassion, his wisdom, his ability to lead with love. Viktor Frankl, a man who lost his entire family in the Holocaust. And yet, in that unbearable suffering, he wrote, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Helen Keller, deaf, blind, and isolated. And still, she said, although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it. Their fire didn't break them. It made them legendary. And that same potential lives in you. But you have to let go of the idea that life owes you comfort. That just because you did the right things, nothing bad should happen. That's not how it works. Life is not a vending machine. It's a forge. It shapes those willing to be transformed by the heat. You must allow the fire to do its work, not by running from it, but by walking through it with your head held high, even when your heart is breaking, with your soul wide open, even when everything inside you wants to shut down. Because when you walk through pain with awareness, you don't come out the same. You come out free, free from the need to impress, free from chasing empty praise, free from pretending you're fine when you're not. You become real. And being real is the first step to healing. So many people ask me, how do I move on? And I say, maybe don't move on. Maybe move through, let yourself cry, let yourself rage, let yourself feel the depth of it. Then begin to rise. Not because you're ready, but because the world needs what your pain has taught you. Let me tell you something personal. The fire that burned me also birthed this message. I would not be speaking to you now if I had not suffered. I would not be able to see you so clearly if I had not lost me for a while. Sometimes the only way to find your voice is to first lose it in the wilderness. So if you feel like you're in that wilderness right now, hold on, because there is a version of you that already made it to the other side. A version who is stronger, wiser, more grounded, and more compassionate. And they are calling you forward through the fire, through the fear, through the night. You will rise, not in spite of your fire, but because of it. So breathe, stand up, dust yourself off, and take the first step. Not back into who you were, but forward into who you're becoming. Because that version of you, the one forged in fire, shaped by loss and refined by grace, that version is a gift to the world. Don't hide it. Don't shrink. Don't delay. This is not the end. This is your beginning. The deepest pain always carries a message, not just about the world, but about you. When your life has been scorched by loss, when all your carefully laid plans have turned to ash, you find yourself facing a silent but powerful invitation. Will you listen to what the pain is trying to teach you? Most people don't. Most people run. They numb it. They distract themselves with work, with noise, with screens, with temporary highs. They rush back into relationships, careers, or habits that feel like comfort but are really cages. But you have the power to pause. And in that pause, something sacred happens. The wound becomes a window, and through it, the light begins to pour in. I remember the exact night I first heard that whisper. It wasn't dramatic. There was no thunderclap, no vision from the sky, just silence. And then a voice, not from outside me, from within. It said, you can let this break you, or you can let this build you. I sat there in the dark, eyes swollen, heart cracked wide open. And I realized for the first time, the pain I was feeling was my teacher. Let that sink in. Because we don't grow just from joy. We grow from awareness, and pain makes us very aware. It reveals what we truly value. It strips away the excess. It introduces us to our deeper self, the part of us that cannot be shaken by external loss because it is rooted in something eternal. You've probably heard the phrase, time heals all wounds. But it's not true. Time alone doesn't heal anything. Intention does. Awareness does. Facing the pain with courage, that's what heals. Time just passes. What you do with it determines who you become. That's why I want to share something with you today. Something I call the 4 mirrors of pain. These are the reflections pain shows us, and if we're willing to look deeply, they can become the turning point of our entire lives. Mirror 1, pain reveals what you were clinging to. When we lose someone, something, some identity, it hurts most. When our sense of self was tied to it. We didn't just lose a job, we lost our worth. We didn't just lose a partner, we lost our future story. We didn't just lose a moment, we lost who we believed we were in that moment. Pain shows us where our identity was built on unstable ground. That's not meant to shame us. It's meant to free us, because now you can build again, but this time on a foundation that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. Now you can ask, who am I when everything else is taken away? And the answer is, you are still here. And that matters. Mirror 2, pain reveals the depth of your heart. You wouldn't grieve if you didn't love deeply. Read that again. The ache you feel, that hollow, gnawing absence, it's a reflection of the depth of your heart. And while the world tells us to get over it or move on, your soul is saying something else. Honor it. Honor that you loved that deeply, that you felt that fully, that you cared so completely that its absence cracked you wide open. Do not rush your way out of grief. It is not weakness. It is evidence of a beautiful capacity, the capacity to give, to hold, to feel. And those who can feel are those who can truly live. Mirror 3, pain reveals your hidden strength. You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. When the calls stop coming, when the support system collapses, when you're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering how you'll make it through the next day, and yet you do. That's not luck. That's not accident. That's resilience. You don't need a cape to be a hero. You don't need applause to be powerful. You just need to keep going one breath, one moment, one small choice at a time. That is the strength. Most people never acknowledge the quiet, gritty, relentless courage of those who choose to get up again and again, even when everything inside them screams to give up. That strength lives in you. Always has, always will. Mirror 4, pain reveals what must be healed. Pain is not always punishment. Often it's a flashlight pointing to the place inside you that still needs healing. Maybe it's the fear of being alone. Maybe it's the belief that you're not enough. Maybe it's the inner child who never felt seen now crying out for attention. Don't ignore these signs. Don't bury them under distractions. Listen, pain has a language, and when you learn to hear it, you unlock the deepest levels of growth, because behind every pain is a pattern. And when you heal the pattern, you don't just heal this moment, you heal every version of you that came before. Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest. The path ahead is unclear. The night is dark. There's a storm overhead. You feel lost, but in your hand is a lantern. And though the storm rages, the flame in your lantern stays lit just barely. That flame is your hope. And hope doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to roar. It just needs to exist. Because as long as that flame remains, you can take one more step. And then another, and then another. Eventually, you emerge from the woods, not by running, not by fighting the storm, but by walking with it. This is what it means to transform pain into power, not to deny it, not to rush it, but to honor it and let it remake you. Every great soul you admire, whether in books or history or on stages, they were forged in fire. Maya Angelou, Rumi, Martin Luther King Jr., Malala, Gandhi. Their pain did not end them. It elevated them, because they chose not to become bitter, but to become better. And that's your choice too. Not to ignore your scars, but to let them speak. Not to pretend you're untouched, but to say, yes, I've been broken and yet I rise. Because the cracks in your soul, that's where the light gets in. So don't hide them. Don't apologize for them. Let them shine. Let them remind the world that you are human, that you have walked through the fire and emerged with wisdom. Let me leave you with this. The pain you are facing is not meaningless. It is not proof that life is unfair or that the universe has abandoned you. It is an initiation. You are being invited into your own becoming. You are being asked to trust the process, to surrender to the unfolding, to let go of who you were, so you can become who you were always meant to be. And that journey begins with a single quiet truth. There is wisdom in your wound. And when you listen to it, you find the light you've been searching for was inside you all along. There is a moment that comes not when the pain is gone, but when the pain has said all it needs to say. That moment doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't wear a crown. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you're quiet enough, you'll hear it. It's the moment you realize you've survived. Not just physically, not just by existing, but by holding on to something deeper than breath. Your spirit, you've walked through the fire, you've carried the weight, you've cried the tears, you've screamed into the darkness, and now the ashes settle, the chaos dims, and in the stillness, you begin again, not as the person you were, not with the same illusions or stories or masks, but as someone new, someone refined, someone real, someone who has seen the world and decided to still love anyway. This is what I call the rebirth of you. You see, there's a reason so many cultures throughout time have spoken of fire as a sacred element. Fire doesn't just destroy, it transforms. It burns away what is dead so that life can emerge. And just like the forest grows stronger after a wildfire, so can you. But growth isn't just something that happens over time. It's something that happens with intention. You don't stumble into becoming your best self. You choose it. You build it. You fight for it even when no one sees you doing it. Because the truth is, no one can rise for you. No one can breathe for you. No one can find your purpose, your meaning, your light. That is your work. That is your sacred journey. And it begins here. With the decision to stop living like a victim of your past and start becoming the author of your future. Let me ask you something. If the rest of your life depended on a single decision today, would you keep carrying the version of you that broke? Or would you let that version go and create someone new? This is the hardest, most beautiful truth I know. You are allowed to become someone your past never saw coming. Let that sink in. You're not obligated to stay small because others expected you to. You're not required to stay wounded because you once were. You're not stuck being who you were unless you choose to be. There's a story I often share. It's about a sculptor. He was asked once how he creates such beautiful statues. He smiled and said, "I don't create them. I just chip away everything that isn't the statue." That's what your pain did. It chipped away everything that wasn't truly you. The ego, the lies, the fear, the identity that wasn't aligned with your soul, and now you're left with the raw material of your true self. So now the question becomes, what will you build with it? Rebirth is not passive. It's an active daily commitment to yourself. It begins with mindset. The way you speak to yourself, most people live their whole life speaking to themselves like an enemy. Would you say to a child what you say to yourself? You'll never get it right. You're such a failure. No one will ever love you. We say these things in silence, in mirrors, in moments no one sees, but those thoughts shape our future. So here's your challenge starting today. Become your own best friend, not your critic, not your judge, but your advocate. Because when you shift your inner dialogue, you shift your destiny. Start saying this: I may have been broken, but I am not beyond repair. Say, I am learning to love myself in ways no one ever taught me. Say, this pain taught me how to rise, and now I rise with purpose. These are not affirmations. They are revelations. They are the first bricks in building a new foundation. The second layer of rebirth is vision. Not just healing what was, but seeing what could be. Close your eyes and ask yourself, if I let go of all the guilt, all the fear, all the voices of the past that said, I'm not enough, who would I become? What kind of life would I create? What kind of love would I give? What kind of work would I do? What kind of impact would I leave behind? That vision, no matter how blurry is your compass, your North Star. And even if you can't fully see it yet, you can feel it. You don't need a perfect map to begin the journey. You just need the courage to take one step. And that brings us to the third element of rebirth. Discipline. You see, everyone talks about motivation, but motivation fades. What builds the new you is discipline. Daily choices, invisible wins. It's waking up early, even when you don't feel like it. It's journaling instead of scrolling. It's speaking kindly to yourself, even when your mind is flooded with doubt. Discipline is self-respect in action. And every time you choose what serves your highest self, even if it's small, you plant a seed. And one day you'll look around at a life that feels free, a heart that feels whole, a mind that feels clear, and realize this was built one sacred choice at a time. But there's something else, something we often forget in our pursuit of the new: grace. Because rebirth is messy. You'll fall, you'll doubt, you'll revisit wounds you thought were healed. And in those moments, you must remember you are allowed to be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. Healing isn't linear, it's a spiral. You'll come back to the same lesson with new awareness, not because you failed, but because now you're ready to go deeper. So don't shame yourself for slipping. Don't compare your pace to others. Don't measure your growth in grand moments. Measure it in softness, in self-forgiveness, in the days you choose love over anger, presence over distraction, hope over fear. That is real success. You've made it through so much, more than anyone knows, more than even you remember, and still you're here. That's not weakness, that's power. So if you take anything from this part of the journey, let it be this: you don't have to become someone else. You just have to return to the real you, the one beneath the pain, beneath the noise, beneath the world's expectations. That version of you is waiting, not in the distance, not in the future, but here, now, in this breath, in this moment. All it takes is a decision. Will you continue living as the version of you that pain created? Or will you rise from the flames of pain into the light of hope? Because the story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. And the next chapter is entirely yours to write. You were not born to be busy. You were not born just to chase money, approval, or the next like. You were not born to wake up, rush through traffic, sit under fluorescent lights, answer emails you don't care about, come home to a screen, and go to bed feeling empty, only to do it all again. You were born for something more. Not louder, not flashier, not more impressive, just more true. But we live in a world that distracts us from that truth. It tells us, keep moving, don't stop, don't question, don't feel. Because if you stop, even for a moment, you might hear the whisper. And that whisper is dangerous because it knows you. It knows that you're meant for depth, not noise. For meaning, not just motion. For purpose, not just productivity. It's that voice that whispers, this isn't it, there's more. You were made for more. And the moment you stop pretending not to hear it, everything changes. That whisper is your purpose. And here's the truth. No one tells you purpose isn't found. Purpose is remembered. It's not some grand event. It's not something you stumble into. It's already inside you, buried under fear, buried under expectation, buried under everything you were told to be. So how do you uncover it? You begin by asking, what breaks my heart? What lights me up? Where do I lose track of time? What problem do I feel born to solve? What healing have I experienced that I could now guide others through? See, your purpose doesn't always look like a dream job or a mission statement. Sometimes your purpose starts with a wound. Yes, the very thing that hurt you can become the source of your healing and your impact. Because when you survive something, heartbreak, failure, trauma, loss, you earn a voice that others can hear. You earn a depth that others can feel. You become proof that rising is possible. And in a world where so many people are drowning in pain, your purpose might simply be to be the lighthouse, to shine, to stand tall, to remind others there is a way out. But purpose alone is not enough. Purpose without courage is just a dream. Purpose without discipline is just a wish. You must protect it, feed it, fuel it. Even when no one claps for you, even when no one understands, because you will have days, many days, where chasing your purpose feels lonely. You will have people who don't get it. People who think you're crazy for quitting that job, starting that business, leaving that relationship, moving to that city. And in those moments, you have to remember, they don't have to understand your fire. It wasn't lit for them. This fire, this drive, this ache for meaning it belongs to you. It's your soul saying, I didn't come this far to settle. And now let's talk about the other side of purpose. The quiet, powerful side, because purpose is not always loud. It's not always standing on a stage or starting a movement. Sometimes purpose is waking up and choosing kindness even when you're hurting. Sometimes it's loving your child with presence. Sometimes it's helping your parents age with dignity. Sometimes it's listening to a friend at 2 a.m. even when you're tired. Sometimes it's showing up again and again for your own healing when the world would rather you numb and run. That is purpose too. Never let the world convince you that you have to be important to be impactful. Some of the most important people in your life may never be famous, but their love changed you. Their strength carried you. Their belief shaped you. That's what real purpose looks like. Purpose isn't about being seen. It's about seeing clearly. It's not about what you do. It's about why you do it. And when your why is love, everything you do becomes sacred. When your why is service, even the smallest act becomes eternal. So if you're in a season where you feel behind, where everyone seems to have figured it out, but you haven't taken a breath, purpose isn't a race. It's not a linear path. It's a garden. You plant, you water, you wait. Some seeds take years to bloom. Some bloom in silence. Some look like weeds to others, but to you, they're wildflowers. Trust that process. And while you wait, don't just wish. Build the habits, build the self-respect, build the stillness, build the muscle of patience, because when your purpose finally calls, and it will, you'll be ready to carry it. Now let's talk about something we don't associate with purpose enough. Pain. See, everyone wants a purpose that feels good. But the truth is, the greatest purposes often come with the deepest pain. Rosa Parks wasn't comfortable. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't comfortable. Mother Teresa wasn't comfortable. Malala Yousafzai wasn't comfortable. They all hurt for what they believed in. They all bled, cried, were misunderstood, rejected, threatened. But they didn't stop. Why? Because purpose isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to cost something. And when you understand that, when you stop chasing a comfortable life and start chasing a meaningful one, everything inside you aligns. You stop hiding. You stop numbing. You stop apologizing for your intensity, your heart, your passion. You show up unfiltered, unapologetic, unstoppable. Because now you're lit from within, not by the world, but by something deeper, something eternal. You've been through the fire, you've walked the long road, and now you stand at a crossroads. You can go back, shrink, survive, or you can go forward, rise, live with purpose. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only thing that feels like truth. So ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? What would I die for? And therefore, what will I live for? What do I want my days to mean? What pain have I been through that I can turn into healing for others? What injustice enrages me enough to act? What beauty moves me enough to create? What vision scares me enough to chase? Because the moment you answer those questions with honesty, with heart, you're no longer just existing, you're living on purpose. And there is no power greater than that. Sometimes we think we are buried, but really we are being planted. When you lose everything, when the walls you leaned on, your whole life collapse, when your identity is shattered, something unexpected happens, a silence emerges. It's not the silence of peace. Not yet. It's the silence of being stripped bare, the sound of nothing left to hold on to, the quiet that comes when the world no longer recognizes your name, and neither do you. This is the sacred soil where rebirth begins. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man whose life was defined by performance. He was the best in school, the pride of his family, the one everyone looked up to. He wore his achievements like armor. They protected him from the fear he never wanted to face, that deep inside he didn't know who he truly was without them. Then life, in one brutal season, stripped it all away. He lost his job. His partner left. His health failed. He was no longer the best. He was no longer anyone. He lay in bed for days, unable to move, unable to speak. The silence in his room mirrored the silence inside his soul. He thought he was broken. But what was really happening was this. His soul was beginning to whisper, we are not just shaped by our triumphs. We are forged in our tragedies. Every person who has risen from the ashes did not escape the fire. They stayed, they burned, and something in them, something beyond understanding, survived. This is the part no one talks about. We celebrate the success, the comeback, the glow up, but we forget to honor the ashes. We forget that before a phoenix rises, it has to die. And in that death, something holy occurs. Not a punishment, not karma, not failure, but a shedding of ego, of illusions, of everything we were never meant to carry in the first place. In those ashes, you begin to see the difference between who you thought you were and who you really are. Pain burns away everything false. And if you let it, it reveals the truth. Not the truth the world gave you. The truth you were born with. You are not your success. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions of others. You are the breath between the tears. You are the soul learning to walk again. And that is more powerful than any image of perfection. You see, transformation doesn't come from reading a book or listening to a podcast. It comes when life breaks you open, and in that breaking, you choose not to close. You choose to stay awake. You choose to lean in. You choose to listen. Because in the rubble of your former life, there is always a voice calling you home, not the home of comfort, but the home of truth, the home of alignment, the home of your soul. This is the gift hidden in the ashes. If you can sit long enough with your pain, if you can breathe through the nights that seem unbearable, if you can stop trying to run and finally say, I surrender, you'll hear it, a whisper, then a rhythm, then a roar, the sound of your soul remembering who you are. And that is the beginning of all healing. That is the beginning of all becoming. Pain has a strange way of teaching us what joy cannot. When you're curled up on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m. because your heart feels like it has been torn apart, when you're watching the light fade in the eyes of someone you love, when you're holding on to a job you hate because you can't afford to lose it and still feel like you're losing your soul anyway, pain whispers truths that the good times often drown out. There's a line in ancient Eastern philosophy that says, the wound is where the light enters you. And at first, it makes no sense. How can something that hurts this much, something that breaks you, be the very gateway to healing? But as we mature through our struggle, as we lean into the weight we've been given instead of running from it, something begins to shift. That pain becomes the birthplace of wisdom. It's in the flames where we are refined. Think about the blacksmith shaping a sword. The metal is thrown into fire not once, but again and again. Each time it glows red hot. It is beaten, molded, stretched, refined. It is pounded into shape, not out of cruelty, but out of purpose. The same is true for us. You're not broken, you're becoming more aware, more awake, more capable, more compassionate. Because once you've been through hell, it's hard to ignore the suffering of others. Pain makes you kinder, not softer in weakness, but softer in power. Let me tell you about Harriet Tubman. She wasn't born a hero, she was born into chains. But it was through her suffering, through watching her people beaten, through enduring her own trauma and escaping that her fire was lit. That fire did not consume her. It lit a path through darkness. And she walked back into that darkness again and again to bring others into the light. She did not become fearless by being safe. She became fearless by facing her fear. And through pain, she found purpose. Now, I'm not saying your pain is fair. It's not. And I'm not saying your struggle has a silver lining. Some wounds stay with us. Some chapters don't end with closure. But I am saying you have the power to choose what your pain creates within you. Because pain can make you bitter, or it can make you better. Bitterness builds walls. It convinces you that no one understands you, that life is against you, that hope is a lie. But becoming better, choosing better, that builds bridges. That builds character. That builds strength that can't be faked. Let's be real. Healing is not glamorous. It doesn't happen in a meditation app with a soft bell and affirmations. It happens in messy cries, in therapy sessions, in brutal honesty. It happens when you start telling yourself the truth you've been avoiding. It happens when you stop performing and start processing. You see, we live in a culture of pretending. Pretend you're okay. Pretend you're strong. Pretend you're over it. But healing doesn't come from pretending. Healing comes from revealing. And you can't heal what you won't feel. So cry, scream, journal, sit with your sadness. Not forever, but long enough to understand it. Long enough to extract the lesson from the loss. Because pain that is not transformed will always be transmitted into your relationships, your habits, your identity. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to rise not as the person you were before the pain, but as the version of you that never could have existed without it. Like the lotus flower that only grows in the mud. Like the phoenix that only rises after the fire. Like the diamond that only forms under pressure. That's who you are becoming. Every single scar, emotional, spiritual, physical, it is evidence that you survived, that you're still here, that no matter what broke you, it did not end you. And maybe the point was never to get through life untouched. Maybe the point was to be touched so deeply that you become a vessel of healing for others. Because when you've lived in the fire, when you've walked through the pain, when you've screamed into the night and still woke up, the next day something in you changes. You become unshakable. You start recognizing that success is not about how much you achieve. It's about how much you've overcome. Not how many followers you have, but how many breakdowns you've survived without losing your light. And if you're in the fire right now, if you're still in the middle of it, listen to me closely. You are not alone. The flames are not your end. They are your beginning. They are where your voice will be born. Your clarity, your commitment, your compassion. You will not stay in this darkness forever. And when you walk out, when you rise, you won't just shine for yourself. You'll become a lighthouse for everyone still trying to find the shore. So hold on. One more breath, one more step, one more day. Your story isn't over. There is a moment fragile, quiet, yet unstoppable when the night begins to bow to dawn. When the flames that once consumed you no longer destroy but illuminate. When the pain that once blinded you now teaches you to see. This is your moment. You have walked through fire. You have felt the weight of loss pressing down like a storm. You have faced the shadow inside and embraced it, not as an enemy, but as a part of your story. Now, from the ashes of what was, you are ready to rise. But rising is not about returning to what you were before. It's about stepping into who you are meant to become. Look around you. Feel the air, fill your lungs deep and steady. This breath is your power. This breath is your life. You are more than your circumstances, more than your setbacks, more than the voices that told you to quit, to settle, to hide. You are a force of nature, a soul with infinite capacity to grow, to love, to create meaning. The light you seek is already inside you, waiting to shine brighter than ever before. And here is what I want you to remember. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are badges of courage, proof that you stood tall when everything inside begged you to fall. Your story matters not despite the pain, but because of it. Because every flame you have walked through has carved space for your purpose to bloom. The pain you endured is the bridge to compassion, empathy, and strength. The loss you faced is the foundation of gratitude and humility. And gratitude, real gratitude, is the key that unlocks joy no matter what life throws at you. So today, make a choice. Not a promise to be perfect, not a vow to never suffer again, but a commitment to show up for yourself every day, no matter what. To lean into the discomfort, to listen to the whispers of your heart, to build a life not based on fear, but on faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your resilience, faith in the light that shines beyond the darkest night. Because the truth is, you are already enough. You've always been enough. The journey from the flames of pain to the light of hope is not a straight path. It is a dance, sometimes slow, sometimes wild, between surrender and strength, between falling and rising, between who you were and who you will become. And on this dance floor of life, every step forward is a victory. So rise, shine, live boldly. Let your story be the beacon that guides others out of their own darkness. Because when one soul chooses hope, it creates a ripple, a light that can never be extinguished. If this story moved you, if it sparked a fire inside your heart, I invite you to join this journey with me. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that heal, inspire, and empower. Together, we will rise from the flames, lighting the world with hope, one soul at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And remember, your light is needed now, more than ever.